Navy Federal is proud to serve over 8 million members and is open to active duty military, the DoD veterans, and their family members. Receive a lifetime of membership benefits like a credit card APR average that is 4% lower than the industry's member-only exclusive rates and more. Visit NavyFederal.org/footballers for more information or call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app today. Message and data rates apply. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from PristineAuction.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. And welcome back.
What am I, Cotter? Oh, get out. Don't give me that
That was
look.
fine.
Joe, well, of course, no. I knew that would land with Andy.
Is this an old show?
I'm more worried about what has not returned to the show.
Yeah.
Which is, in fact, all of the hair atop Jason's once mediocre head.
I was going to say, it's not like there's that much gone, if we're being honest.
Mildly proud.
Well, how do you feel, Jason? It's been a little while. It was ironic because you walked the Foot Clan through your decision to shave your head last week, and then we were gone out of town in Los Angeles and Tampa, and there were two shows that released in which you magically had hair again.
It grew quick.
Because we pre-recorded those. And then now we're back fresh. It's Tuesday. It's January 29th.
And my bald, beautiful head is here.
Now, this is not a joke, Foot Clan. Before this show began, I did have to use every inch of my 6'3" height to adjust the light above Jason's head, or this show could not have taken place.
Not on YouTube. I mean, it would have burned out your monitors immediately. It was the glare of the sun. If you looked directly at your monitor when that light was reflecting off my scalp, you're blind.
Instant.
Every bit of the hair that used to absorb that, high output light was now reflecting.
It's a hair light, to be fair.
That's true. So that's why
in the biz, that's what they call it.
We took it off. But Jason, welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I bet.
New weight loss plan? Is that the?
Yes, I figured I can lose weight. I'm going to take out
2
some
ounces.
organs.
Oh.
And I'm going to move my hair off of my body. I bet our manager that the Saints would not lose. He's a giant Saints fan, and I was very confident that Saints were going to win, and they did.
Well, I can tell you, we're very excited to be back with you.
We're not getting into that.
We're not getting into that. But
you can weigh in here. If you're on YouTube, you can weigh in about the bald head. I think it looks all right. I think.
Oh, you're too kind.
I think you. I think this may be it. I think you may have found.
Look,
you've unlocked the secret.
You've never looked more okay-ish.
Oh man, this is the night. I feel so special right now.
Brooks, do you have any adjectives to describe
how mediocre I look?
No, you look beautiful, Jason.
Oh, all
right, beautiful.
Because he's next. He's next on the head shaving.
Are you shaving, Brooks?
Oh yeah.
Eventually, all four of us.
No way, Mike and I are riding this one.
Yes,
definitely before the George Costanza look starts happening.
Stamos and I have got this on lockdown. Mike and I are in good shape. We've got a great show for you today. We have the Quarterback Truth episode, part 1. We're actually going to break them up into 2 episodes because we've got a lot of news to get through today, a lot of catching the Foot Clan up on what's going on around the NFL, as well as around here. You can follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/fantasyfootballers, and obviously on YouTube. Subscribe, click the bell. It'll let you know when each of our episodes releases. And we're going to do more and more over on Instagram and YouTube as the days go by.
yes.
Humongous shout out to both King Godfrey and the Foot Clan, because we have not had a chance to have an episode since we returned from Los Angeles and the iHeartRadio Podcast Awards for 2019, where, due to your incredible abilities,
You raised us up.
you raised us up. You Grobaned
Yo, the old Groban.
And we brought home not just the best fantasy sports podcast. We brought home the best sports podcast.
So Groban-y.
I mean, when you get handed a trophy from Mike Tyson and A.C. Slater himself,
yes,
you know you've made it.
It felt good.
So thank you so much for supporting this show. You also, Foot Clan, you also took home the best social media at the Fantasy Sports Trade Association and a couple other awards over there because you are
awesome,
unstoppable,
undefeated.
Thus far, yeah. You make us look real good. So thank you. Thank you to everybody who supports us at jointhefoot.com and has been a part of this journey for the last 4 years. We are not stopping. This year-round fantasy podcast is continuing. We're going headstrong, and I do mean headstrong, Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you're headstrong.
No, I've
got no more cushion.
Very hard noggin.
What's that dinosaur with the
Barney?
The cap on the top that they run in the walls? The Paca.
Oh, you're going with an actual
like a
real dinosaur.
Pachycephalosaurus.
Pachyderm. That's what they.
Yeah. All right.
A pachydermist.
Did you guys want to weigh in briefly before we get into the news on the conference championship games, which we did? We got to make up pretend reactions to because we were pre-recording those shows. But before we get into the quarterbacks, I figure I'll give you a chance to weigh in on the Saints-Rams matchup.
Overall, I would say it was one of the coolest days of football I can remember. I mean, you had two super important games between the four highest scoring offenses that both go to overtime. Make whatever you want about the questionable calls. You still had, I mean, you had well over 60 minutes in both games of great action. I was genuinely loving every minute of football that week.
And you have seen in the past couple weeks the difference between having an excellent kicker on your team and then having replacement level kicker, what the difference that is, because Greg Zuerlein, I mean, the Rams jumped on his back and he kicked them through.
Well, and you see it time and again. I mean, the difference that a Justin Tucker or somebody like that makes, it's not just, I mean, your kickoffs are no question. Yeah, Gostkowski, and the fact that the Patriots have these years of dominance, they've transitioned from Vinatieri to Gostkowski, and then you have, unfortunately, Chicago fans, the other side of that equation where those kicks hurt them horribly this year.
Speaking of kickers, I know we're not in the news, but Adam Vinatieri signed again for another year with the Colts.
When you're good, you're good.
24th season.
Wow.
I just said that out loud, and I was
so preposterous.
And I was pretty sure I was wrong in saying it.
I believe it's the 14th season with the Colts, which is longer than most players' careers.
Well, he didn't.
This kicker was once upon a time on a different team.
Yeah,
he had two completely different careers.
Yep, one was as Adam Vinatieri, the other was as Brett Favre. By the way, we have a brand new giveaway. If you want a signed Todd Gurley jersey from pristineauction.com, we're giving it away. A signed Todd Gurley jersey at footclangiveaway.com. You can enter there. And a reminder,
it's free.
As we head into the news, we also Super Bowl Sunday will be the debut of the pre-order opportunity.
Yes.
For the 2019 Ultimate Draft Kit.
News and notes from around the league, presented by Sleeper.
Well, I know all of us Arizonans were excited to hear the news that the Cardinals have re-signed wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald to a 1-year.
Arizonans or Arizonians?
Arizonans?
I think it's Ian's.
I think it's Ian's. I'm an Ian.
You're an Arizonian?
Yes.
I'm an Arizonan.
Oof.
So that's strange.
We're going to have to take to the
street
somewhere.
But wherever we take it, we're going with Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald back again. I believe year 16?
So that's no Vinatieri.
I know. But fantasy-wise, Larry was a product of a broken offense. If you looked at what Josh Rosen did this past year, lowest yards per attempt in football, most pick sixes, never really flashed anything special, never had a special connection with Larry or any other wide receiver for that matter. What do we expect from Larry heading into next year? Because it's clear he can still play. There's nothing about his game, 69 receptions, 734 yards, 6 touchdowns, ownable.
Sure.
but difficult to lean on.
Let's see what the Cardinals do with the first pick overall before we make any adjustments to Larry Fitzgerald. But this is more better news for the Cardinals than really for fantasy. The quarterback situation on the offensive line, it's not ideal for fantasy.
Would you think would the league consider giving them like 5 picks real quick at the top and then moving on to the rest of the NFL?
It would be mighty kind, very necessary.
They could get one offensive lineman. They could get a quarterback.
I do think Larry Fitzgerald is the type of player that can be one of those last-round pick values. Larry is going to be extremely free in your drafts. I don't think his name is going to pump him up.
Christian Kirk will go ahead of Larry Fitzgerald?
Certainly.
Probably.
And if you look at this season, it pretty much couldn't have been much worse for him, and I believe he finished as the wide receiver 27. So, I mean, just outside of a wide receiver 2, if you can grab someone like that with one of your last picks, the offense should get better with Cliff Kingsbury because it can't be as bad as the Mike McCoy offense, right?
You are correct,
yes.
Regardless of whether they have Rosen or somebody else. The Jaguars have declined the 2019 team option for Austin Seferian-Jenkins, making him a free agent, so he can go almost score touchdowns on another team. Cam Newton, this was big news. He underwent arthroscopic surgery on his right throwing shoulder. He hopes to be cleared for throwing at OTAs, and there have been a couple of different reports here. One, Pro Football Doc reiterating the fact this is a re-injury of the rotator cuff, same surgery. The majority opinion out there is that this is not a significant injury. Mike, you brought up the fact when we were...
It's the same arm. He's had two surgeries on this arm in 3 years. That eventually, I mean, unless they can put robot parts in there,
but do you
it's going to wear out.
Is there part of you that this is good news?
Well, it's good news considering what we saw from Cam Newton at the end of the year. I mean,
that's my point.
He couldn't throw the ball 30 yards, and you knew there was a massive problem. So at least it's being addressed. It's being addressed early. They didn't do that nonsense where they
wait a month.
They keep holding out hope, and then it's April, and they decide, you should probably have surgery.
Yeah, in the beginning of 2017, Cam had this same surgery, and that was at a later timeline than what he did this time around. So he's hoping to be ready for OTAs. I think he will be. You just watch for re-injury, but until that injury occurs, I think it's good news for Cam. I really do.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by the fact that, something was wrong. This wasn't just a complete degradation of skills.
Fair.
According to the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, the Redskins are, quote, planning as if Alex Smith will miss all of 2019. He had the gruesome injury.
It's a bummer.
To his leg. Then that followed up with an infection.
Yeah.
Struggles recovering. Prayers go out for Alex Smith, the man that, there is a chance that he doesn't play football again. And that's still a reality. But what happens in Washington?
They're going to draft a quarterback, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Or do you think they'll
Colt?
Do you think they'll McCoy?
Yeah. Would they lean on Colt if they thought Alex Smith would come back at some point in the year?
Colt McCoy is a great backup quarterback. He can keep you treading water for a few games. But if you go into the season, the Colt McCoy is your starting quarterback. I think that's Washington throwing a towel in on the season, and Gruden can't do that.
So they go with a rookie, you think?
I think they're probably going to move forward as if Alex Smith is never going to come back.
Joe Flacco?
I was going to say that the difference between free agency and rookies is a difference in pay.
Yeah, you can't afford it when you're paying Smith.
When you're
still
paying
have to pay,
Alex Smith, you're not going to be able to bring in a Flacco, who will still command a lot of money because of the position. Whereas if you draft one, which I imagine they will attempt to draft their guy this season, because
I got a snake, man.
Hey, you could get him on the cheap. Get Blake Bortles over there. He's the answer for every team. But the reality is,
he's the question and the answer.
Alex Smith, he's 34 years old. If they don't expect to have him this year, then he would be 35, out of the league for
a year and a half,
yeah. Coming off of a gruesome injury. You have to. This is the NFL. You have to, prepare for the future.
Washington's picking 15, so
yeah,
they're not completely out of the range of a quarterback right there.
No, that could be Kyler Murray range.
Yeah,
good.
Middle of the first. That was today's news and notes. Look, with fantasy football ramping down, now is the time to ask your commissioner if you're using the right platform. Check out the Sleeper app, the Sleeper platform. They bring us news and notes each and every day. We are going to get into the truth at the quarterback position. I want to welcome Brooks back into the office, too.
Yeah, Brooksy.
Your first vacation in quite some time, and you decided to go freeze to death. Is this correct?
Yeah, I've been trying to get the friends and family to move out here, and they're not doing
How's that working? Not good?
It's-
Now's the time for the pitch. Isn't it like negative 600
yeah,
degrees
that polar
up there?
vortex.
Yeah, I like it here.
Stay safe north.
Stay safe beyond the wall.
Winter is coming.
Oh, my goodness. I'm just glad we made it back before any drama in the airport.
Yes.
So.
Goodness.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
All right, let's talk about fantasy football quarterbacks in 2018. The truth about your starter. What did you actually get? And this is obviously one of the more interesting positions to talk about each and every year because we on this show, we generally subscribe to the philosophy of drafting your quarterback at a later point in your fantasy draft.
Oh, and this year was...
Oh, it's perfect
It
for
was
that.
slam dunk this year.
Why don't you explain a little bit of what we'll be looking at in this segment?
So we're going to be looking at quarterbacks where they put up a great game, a good game, or they ruined your week with a bust. And because, honestly, a bust at the quarterback position is pretty tough to come back from. The good news is generally you can get a good game from nearly anybody if they're put in the right position.
So how do you define those? Those
So
are
great games, more than 25 points. That's on average a top 3 performance. Good is more than 17 points. That's usually in the quarterback 1 range. And then fewer than 15 points hurts you because they've busted.
Yeah, you're outside the top half of the quarterbacks
Right.
playing in the league that week, and this is based on 4 points per passing touchdown scoring.
So, we look at this number each and every year. It is in part the backbone of our, late round quarterback philosophy. If you look at all of the NFL weeks, including week 17, there were a total number of 41 different quarterbacks that put up a QB1 week.
And if you're thinking, what? 41 quarterback? There's only 32 teams.
That's right.
And
That's
you're
how easy it is.
That's how easy it is. And you're thinking like, that number's wrong. No, this was a down year for that number. Usually that number's like near 45.
Here's I'll play the voice of public opinion.
Uh-oh.
Poorly.
Okay.
But
Yes. Voice of
Mike
public
and
opinion.
Jason.
Yes.
it's easy to say that, but it's not easy to pick the right one to start.
Oh, nonsense. That's what I say to
But
that.
isn't that the argument? I mean, it's easy to say that 41 different quarterbacks finished as QB1s, but I think there is something to – I mean, obviously your goal is to identify somebody late that you can start each and every week.
Yeah.
But how many people were really in that category even every week started this year?
Here's the issue is that it's not someone you have to start week in and week out. But the issue is those guys that you know are just locked in as number one picks, right? The Russell Wilsons, the Aaron Rodgers, you spend up for them. Well, it turned out you were wrong because they weren't top 5 at their position. Neither one of them were. And what you're sacrificing there when you take someone else is monumental. You're missing out on a player where you need multiple of them going every single week. So as far as drafting the right guy late, I mean, look, obviously some people saw the Patrick Mahomes thing coming. Probably definitely not to this degree.
Not to this degree.
He was listed as one of the breakouts in our Ultimate Draft Kit this last year, so you could see it, but nobody knew it was coming to this degree. But you don't have to pick a guy that goes Patrick Mahomes in order to succeed at the draft, because you can still pair those guys together. You can have a couple guys on your roster, Big Ben and even Dak this year had good games. Kirk Cousins, you could grab some of these guys and kind of piecemeal the weeks together and end up with a better season than if you just took Aaron Rodgers and said, every week, you're my guy.
Well, and you get to make a kind of a call on how this worked out this year when we break down the truth, because we're going to go position or player by player. Number one on the year was obviously Patrick Mahomes. He was the number one overall fantasy quarterback. He was the number one most consistent quarterback. 94% of his games were good games. So 94% of his games were QB1 weeks.
That's pretty good.
63% of the time he finished in the top 3. That is the kind of performance
That's devastating.
that wins you championships. And
Yes.
he tied Peyton Manning's magical 2013 season with 14 QB1 weeks. That is the most in history, and he was absolutely dominant. You don't need us to tell you that at all. But you saw this week in and week out. He disappointed fantasy owners in week 15 because you had come to expect something. Really, weeks 14 and 15, you didn't get that elite performance. But
it was still great.
But look, you can't really complain about anything when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. The only thing you can discuss is how does this translate into the future? 50 touchdowns, over 5,000 yards, only 12 interceptions, another 272 on the ground, and then how high is he worth taking next year?
Yeah,
based on that truth.
The conversation around Pat Mahomes is going to be fascinating because what he did this year was worth an early round pick. Even everything we're saying about don't draft a quarterback early, what he did this year, if you had drafted him in the first or second round,
if you knew it,
it was absolutely worth it. So the question's going to be, okay, so where does this guy who cannot be stopped, you saw it every single week, and he can do things that other players literally don't have the physical ability to do. Then he adds the mental ability. You add Andy Reid. Everything looks good. I can tell you right now, I am probably going to be off Pat Mahomes in next year's draft because while I do think he's amazing, I think he's got a good shot to repeat at even at being the quarterback 1, I don't think that it's reasonable or probable that he would
put up 5,050.
Yeah, I mean he's not going to be able to put up those numbers year over year. It's just it's impossible.
All right, Mike, I just saw your message. We'll share that with the Foot Clan in a little while.
All right.
Here's what I'll say about that, Jason. The argument that you made, it kind of reminds me of the case being made for Michael Vick after his magical Philadelphia year. Can do things no other player can do, put up numbers that no other player can put up. Obviously, he was not worth that high investment. Also, since 2004, there hasn't been a repeat number 1 quarterback. That doesn't mean he can't do it. The odds are still, like if you're handicapping it, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes next year. But it's very difficult no matter how good you are. Peyton Manning has had a 50-touchdown year. Tom Brady has had a 50-touchdown year.
He was the only third, right? He's only the third quarterback to hit the 50 plus.
Exactly, but even those former quarterbacks that have done it, they came back to earth a little bit. Maybe you run the ball a little bit more. Maybe your defense is better. It is difficult. I want him on my team, don't get me wrong, because I think regardless of where he finishes next year, he's going to win weeks for people with those monstrous weeks.
It's the 8.6 touchdown percentage. The 8.6% of his attempts turned into touchdowns when the league average is
about
like 4.3, 4.4. I don't have it right in front of me, but
it's like the Deshaun Watson factor of last year.
Right.
You got
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, or Carson Wentz. So, not to rain on his parade, he had a nice touchdown to his his longtime teammate Eric Ebron in the Pro Bowl. Those two are just attached to the hip, according to Jason.
Oh yeah,
Jason Witten. Now, did you see video? He also apparently broke the Pro Bowl trophy.
No.
Witten or Mahomes?
Witten. Witten managed to call Mahomes.
Is it because of the blade hands? He sliced right through.
All right, we'll get to number 2. It gets pretty interesting pretty fast at the quarterback position. Before we get to number 2, Matty Ice himself, I want to thank a brand new sponsor for sponsoring today's podcast, and that is Cavo. All right, you can clean up your remote control clutter in time for the Super Bowl with the Control Center by Cavo. You plug in your streaming device, your sound system, your cable, your satellite, even your game console, and the Control Center does everything. And I've tried this out. I hooked it up. It took me about 15 minutes to configure all my devices because it just knows what's plugged in automatically. You got one remote. You don't fumble with a bunch of different remotes. It's got voice control, so you can use the universal voice remote to say, hey, watch any given Sunday. And then the Control Center by Cavo handles the rest of the business. It's great. I hooked it up in our TV room, and it's just easy. That's all you want. Shop now, just in time for the Super Bowl, and guess what? You get 40% off Control Center with the promo code FOOTBALLERS. That's $59.95. 40% off the regular price of $99.95. Control Center is available at CAAVO.com. That's Cavo.com. LinkedIn.com and at Best Buy. Control Center by Cavo, one remote that does it all.
Want to thank LinkedIn for sponsoring today's show. The right hire can make a huge impact on your business. That's why it's so important to find the right person. But where do you find that individual? You could post a job on a job board, hope the right person will find your job, but why leave it up to chance? That's why LinkedIn is here. Most LinkedIn members haven't even recently visited the top job boards, but 9 out of 10 members are open to new opportunities. With 70% of the U.S. workforce on LinkedIn, it's the best way to get your job opportunity in front of more of the right people. People are qualified for the role. They're ready for something new. And a new hire is made every 10 seconds using LinkedIn. Got to hurry to linkedin.com/footballers, and you're going to get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/footballers to get $50 off the first job post. LinkedIn.com/footballers. Terms and conditions do apply.
All right, the reason I alluded to it earlier, Mike sent me a very important update.
I did.
Do you think that the
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you, Jason.
we have a very important announcement.
Do they care? No. But are we going to tell them?
Have we had the Michael Keaton discussion yet?
What?
I mean, did we bring to
We
light?
love him.
We brought it to light on the show that he loves us back, right?
Yes. We got the tweet back from Keaton. It was a pivotal moment in all three of our lives. I mean, it's like top 5 for sure.
Theoretically, if we ever need a resume again,
Yeah, loved by Michael Keaton.
it will be.
That's going on my
it.
LinkedIn post.
So, Mike, tell the people my reaction to him reacting to us.
Andy he could be an impulsive fella
Okay.
when it comes to acquiring goods, especially of a pop culture background.
I got in a lot of trouble when I bought this DeLorean, which, by the way, it's a die-cast 2-scale DeLorean sitting here on the desk.
And Andy
worth
takes-
every penny. This
takes
show would be nowhere
a
without
John
it.
Hammond approach to things of collectible nature. And I get this message very quickly after the Michael Keaton tweet happens, and it's for a bust
It is
of Michael Keaton in his Batman mask.
This is basically a wax museum style, full-on Michael Keaton Batman bust.
Look, I heard from.
It's been delivered. Is that what it?
Yes.
It's
Is
in
this
the other
true?
room. I've heard from the grapevine.
Brooks, take care of this. I want this
Brooks,
on the
go
podcast.
get it. We got to get
that
it on the
Jay
video.
Grizz
Get it open
is-
and bring in his head.
Jay Grizz is a little worried. Jay Grizz is like,
Oh, he's going to get replaced by Batman.
nah, I'm not saying he's getting replaced, but he's worried he's going to get replaced by Michael. I mean, it's Michael
By Batman.
Keaton. It's Michael Keaton Batman.
So there is a full and so in the middle of the show we just got.
This thing better deliver.
I hope
I'm
it's
gonna be-
terrible. I hope it just looks like an albatross.
Like not the right face. I told Brooks to go get it. We'll bring it back. As soon as he gets it, I'll put it on the show. The listeners, you're going to have a harder time.
Yes.
So you better be on YouTube.
Now
All right.
everyone's surprised.
Number 2 on the list behind Patrick Mahomes this year, believe it or not. And I don't know why, but I feel like he deserves some sort of apology from somebody.
Massive credit.
Matt Ryan, not only number 2 in fantasy finish with 4,924 yards and 35 touchdowns and only 7 picks, but number 2 consistency-wise, only busted 25% of the time, which compared to the rest,
That's perfectly acceptable.
it's totally fine compared to not Pat Mahomes. And then 75% good games, 44% great games.
He was outstanding this season. It was weird because you got off to the worst start
That's
imaginable.
what I want to say. Beware week 1.
Yes, you
setting all of
fantasy
your
points.
opinions.
Not only was this week 1, but this was game 1. This was the NFL opener kickoff game where everybody's eyes were on how bad Matt Ryan was to start this season.
Michael Keaton was even watching that game, I hear.
You
I'm
add in how bad the Falcons performed this.
Yes.
You know, they had all the injuries on defense, and for some reason you don't believe that Matt Ryan really had a great year. But number 2 quarterback, I wrote him in our Dynasty League to a championship, and he's the type of guy that he didn't go in the first 10 rounds.
Well,
No.
Look at this. If you throw out that first week and you look at weeks 2 through 10, he averaged the same. Or did you just see it?
Hold on. Finish
Okay,
Matt
Phil,
Ryan.
He
Finish Matt
averaged
Ryan.
he averaged the same amount of fantasy points as Patrick Mahomes, including 7 QB1 performances. So from weeks 2 to 10, You had the same thing as Patrick Mahomes production-wise, and he killed bad defenses.
Yes.
32 fantasy points a game against bottom 16 defenses, 20 points against the top defenses.
Now,
Holy crap.
now,
It's unbelievable.
Hold on.
Oh, my gosh. It's everything I've ever dreamed of.
All right, you derailed Matt Ryan.
Matt
We
Ryan
can get-
take a back seat to Michael
We can
Keaton.
get back to Matt Ryan. Bring us in, Brooks.
This
Brooks
is,
has to hide his face.
this is unbelievable. Oh, this is great. He's on the set with us today.
Can you put him down? Michael Keaton, join us. Wow,
Yeah.
that is humongous.
It's life size.
How that looks fantastic.
Oh, my goodness.
You and Keaton.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, so I don't even know. Oh, for Matt Ryan, we have another offensive coordinator change with Matt Ryan. I now have to do the entire show looking at Michael Keaton.
I'm Batman.
So we've seen Matt Ryan struggle. The first year he has an OC when he had Kyle Shanahan, when he had Sarkisian. Bad years. Second year in the system, he was ready to go. That's going to happen again. What's your comfort level, Jason, knowing that Matt Ryan's your quarterback?
The nice thing about Matt Ryan's offensive coordinator switch that is where you hope he's not going back to the wheel and you got to wait 2 years before he performs is that he's been with this offensive coordinator before. This is not, hey, let's reinvent the wheel. I think he's going to be great. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a great year. I will say this. This is part of Patrick Mahomes' success, and every quarterback that has great touchdown success, sometimes those touchdowns can swing the next year to the rushing game. And their loss of Devonta Freeman scares me a lot more for Matt Ryan's future than the offensive coordinator switch. I think that when Devonta Freeman comes back, he will he will score 8+ touchdowns if he plays all year. And the running game was putrid for touchdown scoring for Atlanta. So Matt Ryan's not going to be in my top 5, but I'm still going to definitely
Top 10?
Yeah, he'll be near the top 10, and he'll be a guy that still, despite finishing number 2, he will be a double-digit round drafted guy. No one's falling over themselves to get Matt Ryan.
I think Calvin Ridley helps his floor immensely. Calvin Ridley coming into year 2, a very talented player, inconsistent, yes, but that's just a product of being behind Julio Jones on the depth chart. But in terms of if Julio misses a game, if he needs somebody else, the capability to have a game, a 3-touchdown game for Calvin Ridley, it changed the equation for Matt Ryan. So I think bringing in a superstar like that makes all the difference in the world.
And we've seen what happens to Matt Ryan in years past when Julio Jones is gone. Matt Ryan just absolutely turns to dust for fantasy.
Big Ben. Now Jason has left the room. Jason is now put.
Jason is a little boy with his new shiny toy.
He has put Michael Keaton's bust behind the microphone with the headphones on.
I'm Batman.
No, see, the problem is you're doing that's the Bale voice.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Keaton didn't need to do a voice.
He was more matter of fact. I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Jason, get out of here. Number 3 on the
He's
list.
also Birdman, isn't he?
Yes.
Batman and Birdman.
Not many people get to be one man.
He's B-Man. He's
Careful.
bananas.
Here's the B-man. Big Ben Roethlisberger, number 3, with 5,129 yards passing, 34 touchdowns, 16 picks, the 5th most consistent fantasy quarterback. He beat up on bottom 16 defenses as well by a wide margin, 8 points better against bottom 16 defenses.
But the great news,
Yeah,
home road splits.
they evened out.
It was okay.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
has been the story for, if you don't know, Big Ben, historically, great at home, terrible on the road.
and this was finally the year he was not terrible on the road. Lo and behold, quarterback 3 on the season.
Yeah, and the truth is, I think a big part of that was Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, we saw how Juju and Antonio Brown kind of took turns dominating at home and on the road. It mattered to have that second great option to throw the ball to. Not just, the second great option for Big Ben for a long time has been his running back. And while the running back was still good this year and Jalen Samuels is a great pass catcher, there's no Le'Veon Bell, so it was really important to have Juju there. Going forward, you can't really talk about Big Ben. I mean, you don't know what to do with him until you know Antonio Brown's fate. The latest information, and this will be dated quickly, I'm sure, is that Antonio Brown has not been given permission to seek a trade yet.
Right. They're open to him coming back. This is going to be a mess. But hopefully,
what is the range
quickly.
of outcomes for Big Ben without AB? Because that's the story.
Not top 5.
If not top 5.
Not top. It's still very good because they have
Juju,
weapons.
Washington, Connor.
Yeah, the mergers. James Washington will pick up slack, but I'm not
hurts
calling him
a ton.
Antonio Brown. But Big Ben could still be a top 10 guy.
Yeah, man, that's going to be crazy to follow. But it was an impressive year for Big Ben. He's been around the league for a long time, so I think it was hard for me to buy into. Hey, does he do what he's always done, or does he have a breakout year? Juju proved to be everything that Jason had dreamed he would be, and that made all the difference in the world. So he had 8 top 10 weeks and 5,129 yards, which was the most in his career and the most in the league. So I mean, a great year. We'll see what happens. Man. Yeah, it'll be interesting with Antonio. All right, number 4 is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, look, a very strong finish to the season. Ended up at number 4 fantasy-wise. Over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, the 551 on the ground, and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Made him the 3rd most consistent quarterback.
What's tough about Watson is quarterback 4 on the year. That's fantastic. Number 3 in consistency. That's what you wanted. But did you still get actual return on where you had to draft him? He was the 2nd quarterback. For people who do not remember, Deshaun Watson was being drafted behind Aaron Rodgers. His ADP, I'm looking on Fantasy Pros, his ADP was 36. So you were giving up.
No, you didn't
right
get
on
that
the turn. So that's what
you didn't get
that's
that
the
return.
problem.
31% of his games he was in the top 3. You drafted him to be number 2. Only 30% of the time he was in that range, and he sprinkled in games that killed you. Week 1, 11 points. Week 6, 5 points. Week 7, 10 points. Week 11, 9 points. Single-digit type of games. So was it – look, it wasn't the wheels falling off. This was nice, right? I mean, you didn't have Deshaun Watson go from, 3 or 4 game wonder to complete disaster.
Right.
Sacked 62 times this year. That's the most since 2006.
And that's going to keep happening unless he changes his game.
He just holds the ball, and he tries to make something happen longer and longer.
Yeah, this season seems to me to be what you could expect going forward. We talked about Deshaun Watson as don't buy based on his ADP last year and, a regression alert, and he certainly did regress. I mean, if you look at his per-game basis last season in that small sample, he was outlandish. He was Pat Mahomes good, and you didn't get that this year. I know, in my leagues, the Deshaun Watson owners, a lot of those leagues did not make the playoffs, even though he was the number 4 quarterback. But this, you still had the baseline, right? 550-plus rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. The reason why he is the number 3 consistent rated quarterback is because of the rushing baseline. But now, let's say he duplicates what he's going to do this year, next year, which I think is very realistic. Where should you land in a draft to take a guy who did what Deshaun?
Well, I get your question. Who would you take ahead of him? I mean, you're taking Mahomes ahead of him.
Yep.
Would you take Big Ben, who we just talked about, ahead of him?
If AB is there,
don't need to.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Taking him ahead of him, no, because you wouldn't need to. I mean, Big Ben will be late. I guess
Andrew
it's
Luck,
more,
Aaron Rodgers.
Who would you rather have?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I would rather have Mahomes. I'd rather have Matt Ryan wherever he's drafted.
Luck.
I'd rather have Luck.
Rodgers.
Definitely.
Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Drew Brees.
Yes.
So I have Phillip Rivers.
You'd rather have Brees?
Watson? I don't think I'd rather have Brees.
We
No.
came to fisticuffs all offseason over Brees.
No, Brees. No, I would not. I'd take E-backsies. No, not Brees. But everybody else, Russell Wilson, I would. I mean, so the point is, I think that Deshaun Watson is someone that should be in the 8th or 9th round. I don't see him as someone that needs to be in the top 5 rounds.
One of the things that's really nice about Deshaun Watson is you have that pairing with a top 3 wideout.
Yeah.
It's kind of Big Ben. You don't know if Brown's coming back. Hopkins is going to be there. That gives him kind of an impressive baseline with that kind of talent. And they had struggles all year long keeping a second wide receiver healthy. I mean, where's Demaryius Thomas at this point? I mean, Kiki QT banged up, hurt. He looks like a great player when he's healthy. Will Fuller.
I
Yeah,
like Watson.
I think he's
more,
sneaky.
I like Watson more than a lot of the guys you were saying you do not. So he'll be an interesting.
I'm
offseason.
factoring in where I assume the price is going to be to draft him.
Yeah, okay.
So I
That's
wouldn't
fair.
take Matt Ryan over Deshaun Watson if they both cost me the same pick next year. I think Deshaun Watson will have a better season than Matt Ryan. But Matt Ryan will still be drafted in the double-digit rounds, and I worry that Watson will creep his way back to that 5th or 6th round.
Highest completion percentage for a second-year quarterback in NFL history, almost 70%. And when you look at the truth about him, he wasn't different at home or on the road, about the same. Pretty much the same against top 16 and bottom 16 defenses. And over the course of the year, put up the number 4 fantasy finish, and he had 10 weeks where he had to face a top 16 defense. So, unlike some of these guys that we talked about previously, Mahomes played 10 top 16 defenses as well. But Watson, it's a successful year if you didn't buy into the draft hype.
Yeah. Regarding the top 16 and bottom 16, one of the things that people listening should be aware of is it seems like, when you've got a guy like Matt Ryan that beat up on the weaker defenses, you see that sometimes as a bad sign. But the reality is, if they're in that streaming bubble, if you're grabbing maybe 2 late quarterbacks, it's really nice to have the guys that actually perform against the bad defenses, because those are when you're making the starts. That's when it's the guys that always surprise you and they're like, man, it looked like a bad matchup and he came out guns a-blazing. He's on your bench. So it's really nice when those things line up. I want someone that can terrorize the bad defenses.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, because that means that you can count on them in
the right situations.
It's almost the most reliable. Mike's looking up, and he just made eye contact with
Batman is still there.
Batman is still there, and he's got actual glass eyes.
We got to get these eyes moving.
That'd be creepy.
What?
How about
you want them to move?
No. Let's rig it up to where he blinks really pronounced when I make the wrong kind of comment. Like back behind me.
Hook him up to the like the GIF, the white guy blinking GIF.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, just Batman just ashamed of you.
What do you think Michael Keaton thinks of this?
I think he loves it.
He loves it, doesn't he? Yeah, we're best friends. All right, Andrew Luck comes in at number 5, a consistency rank of number 4. And I think the thing that stands out to me is, look, this was a year in which it began and people were criticizing arm strength. Oh, they brought him out so he didn't throw the Hail Mary. What's wrong with Andrew Luck? And it was a slower start.
It was hard to support Andrew Luck. He to his credit, he made it very difficult to support Andrew Luck.
But then he turned it on.
Yes.
Now, he only had one game all year where he was a top 3 guy. I believe that was week 4 when he had 35.7 fantasy points.
He was always right on the cusp, though.
He was. He had 11 games, 75% of his games in that good category or better, and then only 25% of his games as a bust. Look, Andrew Luck looks like the same guy, and I think that's what fantasy owners wanted to see.
Yeah, the way he started the season made you worried, right? He missed all last year. You weren't sure he was back, and then his first 3 weeks, he pretty much sucked. I mean, like outright, he had an okay week 1, sucked week 2, sucked week 3, and you're going, no, he's a waiver wire guy at that point. From that point on, and you got to keep in mind, they had a new offensive head coach, a whole new team, a whole new system for Andrew Luck to get in, and they got it going. They clicked from weeks 4 through the rest of the season, which is still the majority. He is the only quarterback behind Pat Mahomes. He was number 2 in that stretch. I really think going into next year, he's a guy that you have seen in the past with Andrew Luck, massive, huge monster games. You didn't really see that this year. If you add a couple of those in, and take away the beginning of the season when they were trying to figure this system out, they didn't have Marlon Mack.
He's a top 3 pick for me, potentially.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Here's the thing. First of all, if I ever take 585 days off of this show, I hope you give me 3 shows to get off the rust. Okay? And second of all,
you get 2.
T.Y. Hilton was playing injured for a good portion of this year. He's the major weapon in that offense. They didn't trade for and use Dontrell Inman to be the number 2 guy until later in the season. So he made a lot out of
Get out of here with your Dontrell Inman hate.
No, it's not. I wasn't going to Dontrell Inman hate. I was just going to say T.Y. Hilton, he's a really good number 2. You know, Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron is the man.
I see what's going on.
Goodness.
Eric Ebron standing 6'6", teen.
Yeah. 6'16" plays for the Chiefs, right?
Yes, he's Pat Mahomes' favorite target.
The story for Andrew Luck
Oh, my gosh.
was the return, the arm, but the bigger thing was the offensive line. Andrew Luck, throughout his career, he missed an entire season because of the
he took
the Colts,
585 days off to wait for them to figure the offensive line out.
because the Colts refused to address their offensive line in years past. It led to a near complete waste of Andrew Luck's career. But they got things figured out, including Ryan Kelly, the center. He had the Colts. The Colts, who were among the league's worst for years in sack percentage. They had the lowest sack rate in the league, down to 2.7. I mean, what they did in Indianapolis was nothing short of outstanding to turn that offensive line around.
I agree.
And you got to – like, if you're newer to fantasy, you have to pay attention to offensive line. Offensive line can control the destiny of so many fantasy players.
Without question.
If it's
Look at what
bad,
happened to
it ruins
Cincinnati
people.
last year.
Yes.
Look at what happened to Gurley coming back to life after the Andrew Whitworth signing and that improved offensive line in Los Angeles. It is the motor beneath the,
Yes.
Ferraris
very
of fantasy.
underrated
Yeah.
that people don't that newer players they're not used to looking at yet.
Well, and we will cover a lot of those changes through free agency and the draft. If you notice, I didn't bring up a bunch of the coaching offensive coordinator changes. It's because I'm not just going to give you the news on the show today. We have a coaching changes breakdown. We'll go through after the Super Bowl finishes up, and we'll tell you the implications, because that's another thing. You brought up Matt Ryan earlier. The coaching changes, the offensive changes, they make a huge impact on how you find value in the draft.
Yeah.
And so you're ready for next year. So we will cover quarterbacks 6 through as many as we can on our next show on Thursday. Got through the top 5 today and some of the news with you. And, look, I'm excited because we've got tight ends to get into. We've got Michael Keaton on the show each and every day now.
Look, if we get to Thursday, guys, and there's no bat cam, I don't know what we're doing with our lives.
Wow.
A bat cam.
If we get a bat cam before a Brooks cam,
Brooks, would you rather have a bat cam or a Brooks cam?
well, he's already in the cave over
What
there.
if we just get Brooks a bat suit, one camera to rule them all?
How much
The Brooks bat
money?
cam.
Theoretically, Brooks, since we are your employer, what kind of stipend would you need to come to work in a bat suit every day? What are we talking?
Not much more.
Not much more.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm with him. If you're like, hey, we'll give you $20 a week to wear a bat suit, I would have done it for free.
You got to
but-
provide the bat suit.
Yeah, that's true. We'll get him a legit one. All right. That about does it for today.
Pristine deal of the day.
All right. Pristine deal of the day. We want to let you know. Todd Gurley, a signed Rams logo football yesterday, sold on pristineauction.com for $88.45.
That's
$88.
a steal.
That's
man.
exactly how fast you have to go in a DeLorean
Ooh.
to go back in time.
Well,
But you can't go back in time.
to be fair, it's 88 flat.
Just 88.
Yes.
Well-
there's no sense involved.
No sense in the miles per hour. Thanks, Mike, for clearing that up.
88 miles
Certainly
per hour
was
and 16
making-
cents is what they're looking for in the DeLorean.
Sign up at pristineauction.com. Let them know that the fantasy footballers sent you.
It's completely free
as
to
you
make the
browse.
accounts. They got hundreds of new things up every single day.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. We'll be back on Thursday. More quarterback truth, more news, and then it'll be Super Bowl time.
Woo! We'll see you next time. Goodbye. I'm Batman.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.
And Foot Clan, don't forget that Navy Federal is proud to serve over 8 million members and is open to active duty military, the DoD, veterans, and their families. Receive a lifetime of membership benefits like a credit card APR average that is 4% lower than the industry's, members-only exclusive rates, and more. Visit NavyFederal.org/footballers for more information or call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app today. Message and data rates apply. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information.